After 10 beautiful, emotionally packed years of Game of Thrones, winter is finally here and the final season is underway for what will truly be a bittersweet goodbye to characters that we've grown to love and hate over the last decade. If you're a massive Game of Thrones fan like myself, you've indulged in all of the thought-provoking endgame theories to try and figure out how exactly this epic tale will end. And there's no shortage of endgame theories. Theories such as Bran being the Night King, to Jon Snow being Azor Ahai reborn and Daenerys being Nissa Nissa. Another one is that Sam will write the story of what happened in the Great War and the book will be called A Song of Ice and Fire. There are many great endgame theories and each would be a satisfying ending in its own way to what many consider as the greatest television show of all time. But there's one endgame theory that I rarely see the Game of Thrones community address. It's an endgame theory that's always remained in the back of my mind, and with less than 6 weeks to go until the end, I figured I'd address it. It's literally the only resolution to the story that I can think of that I do not want to see happen at all. And the theory is that there must always be a Night King. The twist here is that if the Night King were to fall, and the army of the dead doesn't die with him as we presume they will, someone must then fill his shoes because there must always be a Night King to keep the undead at bay. Now, for some of you, this may sound like a completely riveting, unforeseen ending to the show, but for us Warcraft nerds, this plot twist is nothing new. If you don't know who this is, it's the Lich King. He's one of the primary antagonists in Warcraft. And here's our story's antagonist, the Night King. I'm not going to go into detail on the Lich King's origin story because it's extensive and there's a lot of great content already available for that on YouTube. What I want to focus on are some of the overarching similarities that these two share as well as the Lich King's story resolution. But before I go any further, I want to preface this by saying I'm not implying anyone copied anything. I don't care for that. My concern here is getting an original, satisfying ending to Game of Thrones. That's it. So, with that out of the way, let's proceed. The Lich King shares a few important similarities with the Night King. First, they're both kings from lands in the north. The Lich King lives in the Ice-Crowned Citadel in Northrend, while the Night King is from the lands of Always Winter. Both are powerful necromancers, they both can raise the dead, and they both command an undead army which poses an existential threat to the living. They both have massive blue fire-breathing ice dragons, and both of those dragons were coincidentally raised from frozen lakes. And of course, there's this scene, which stirred up a bit of controversy in the Warcraft community. So, as you can see, the two kings share many similarities, but this is where I hope the similarities end and their story arcs veer off in different directions. In the Lich King's story resolution, when the heroes finally manage to kill him after he's terrorized their world, the threat of the dead isn't over. The heroes are met with a shocking revelation.
Without its master's command, the restless scourge will become an even greater threat to this world. Control must be maintained. There must always be a Lich King.
That's right, there must always be a Lich King. Someone must perpetually occupy the role of the undead king to maintain control over the army of the dead. Otherwise, they'd be unchecked, run rampant, and become a greater threat to the world. But here's where the portended parallels share another uncanny similarity. In Warcraft, after the Lich King is killed, the individual that steps up to replace him as the new Lich King is not a man of ice like the previous one. He's a man reanimated by fire. And who do we know in Game of Thrones that was reanimated by fire? So as you can see, these two stories share many parallels, and I think there's a possibility that they could use this ending with Jon Snow having to replace the Night King as the new King of the Dead. And if that's the ending that Game of Thrones uses to close out the show, it's gonna be by far, hands down for me, the most disappointing ending to what I, and many others, consider is the greatest television show ever. Not only would I be disappointed in the show, I'd be incredibly disappointed with George R.R. Martin for signing off on this ending. He's far too brilliant and imaginative to reuse Warcraft's ending for the Lich King. So, here's to hoping that we get an entirely original, unexpected ending. What do you guys think? Do you share my feelings about this ending? Would you be okay with it? Does it bother you or does it not? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And if you stuck around and watched the entire thing, I just want to say thank you.